Hi everyone, and welcome back to OMN Insights. My name is Soreti Kadir, and before I introduce our topic and our guest for today, we have a brief announcement to play.
Ashama kun sagalee bridge reality garee Samu'eel Birhaanuti. Manni jireenya ala namaaf ni barbaachisa. Inni kuni garuu jireenya lubbuu horee yaada namaa boqochiisa. Gaaddisa aara galfii ta'ee jiraachuuf nama sassachiisa. Maarree isinis kan akkanaa bitachuu yoo feetan akkasumas kan ofii qabdan gurgurtanii bu'a qabeessa ta'uun gara xiqqaatti yookaan gara guddaatti jijjiirrachuu yoo barbaaddan dafaa mariisisaa. Bridge reality. Tora bilbila keenya torba ja'a sadii torba afur afur saddeet sadii ja'a lamarratti nuuf bilbila. Bridge reality garee Samu'eel Birhaanuti.
Today we have prepared for you a multifaceted discussion with a veteran scholar and human rights defender, Professor Prof Jalata, who is a professor of sociology, global studies, and African studies at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, with a teaching and research expertise in Oromo studies, global studies, development, social movements, indigenous studies, race and ethnicity, human rights, and much more. Thank you so much for making the time to join us today, Professor Prof.
Thank you for inviting me, Soreti.
You're welcome. The pleasure is mine. To begin our conversation, Professor Jalata, I want to talk a little bit about the group that has been causing havoc, chaos, words that I think don't do enough to describe what's been happening in parts of Oromia and what was going on in Tigray as a result of this group's activities. And I'm talking about Fano here, or the Fano militia. And there has been an intensification of violence on behalf of this militia, of the Fano militia, which is an ethnically Amhara paramilitary group. And this violence is creating circumstances that are very much unlivable at the moment in Oromia. I'd like you to help us understand who exactly Fano are, upon what logic do they organize themselves, and what is their relationship to the Ethiopian states?
Very interesting and complex question. The Fano are, as you mentioned, a paramilitary Amhara group. They are racist, terrorist, and genocidal. Why do I say that? What if you remember what happened in Tigray? This group were organized by the government, by the Amhara regional government, by Abiy government. They went to war to destroy the Tigrayan people. They killed women, they killed pregnant women, they killed children, they looted resources of the Tigrayan people. They destroyed everything that show the identity and the culture of the Tigrayan people. There is nothing that can show that this group are racist, terrorist, and genocidal. Very clear. If you remember what they were saying, they want to totally destroy the people. I know that the Tigrayan, the TPLF regime, the EPRDF TPLF regime, suppressed the Amaras for 27 years. But because of that, to target civilians, the Tigrayan civilians is a crime against humanity. It's not only that. There are groups within the Amara region, the Wallo Oromo, Kimant, Agao. They committed genocide. They terrorized this group of people. And now they are well organized against the Oromo people. They don't hide their intentions. They want to destroy the Oromo people. No, and the remaining, to send the remaining people to foreign country. I don't know where that foreign country is. They claim that the Oromos were invaders. They came from another place. We want to destroy them. And they are even using the name Gala that the Oromos had, that the Ethiopian colonial state put on the Oromo people. So these people are very dangerous, criminal. They want to destroy the people. More than that, their ideology is to restore kingdom. They claim that Milik was their hero. They want to restore the Milikian system, which the Oromos call the Natanya Gabar system. They want to restore that. They believe in this kind of ideology in this 21st century. They are financed by Amara elite who are living in diaspora. They are financed by Amara politicians, Amara business people who are living in Oromia and in Amara region too. They are supported by the Amara political organizations who claim that they are Ethiopians. Another thing that makes this group very dangerous is they claim that they are Amara, then they say that our identity is Ethiopia. They want double identity to hide the crimes that they are committing. So I think briefly that's enough.
Thank you so much. I think that understanding the background, mentality, or the modum operandus of such a group is really important for people who are trying to understand the complex dynamics of what is going on in Ethiopia. Do you think, Professor Jalata, that there is any official relationship between, or do you know perhaps if you have information, between this group and the Amhara regional forces, which is a government sourced or government funded and mobilized, obviously, like in all the regions in Ethiopia, a government funded military group?
There is no question about that. There is a very clear relationship. If you go back to the war in Tigray, they were organized by Amara regional state, also organized by the Ethiopian state, by the Abiy government. Both of them are praising this group, patriotic group, who are defending Ethiopia, the territorial integrity of Ethiopia, the Ethiopian state, the Mendelikian state. They want to restore all these claims. So the Amara regional state and the Ethiopian state function on two levels. One, they want to say that this group are illegal now, not previously. Now they are saying they are illegal, but in reality they support. Even the Abiy government support this government. These groups are not monolithic. There are groups that are too extreme. There are the groups that work with the government, particularly that the group that works with the government is financed by both groups, the Ethiopian, the regional state and the Ethiopian state.
Thank you for that, Professor Jalata. I think that's a really interesting articulation, an important articulation to make, because as this brewing discontent grows between the current Ethiopian government, Abiy's government, and Amhara elite and politicians, there is this distinction that they strive to make, saying, we are fighting against this Oromo government, but as you described, they were very much facilitated and created by the current government.
Let me add something that I would like to add. In Oromia now, the war is being intensified. The Abiy government uses the federal government, the so-called federal army, and also use the Fano group. The Fano group are also created in Oromia. The previous settlers in Oromia are also organized as part of Fano group. They are engaging in protracted armed struggle in Oromia. So, for example, if you take Western Oromia, this group from time to time penetrate into Oromia region and they kill people. Amazingly, recently they killed 2 Oromos and cut their neck, and they took their necks as trophy to Amara region. They danced. They become very happy. They started to praise cutting somebody's neck. And these people are always denying, this Amara elite have been denying that they didn't commit genocide on Oromia, on the Oromo people during colonial era. They denounce that, for example, they claim that there are sections that they committed genocide in Hararge and Arsi, cut legs, cut breasts, cut necks. They say these are fabrications. Fabrications that the Oromo nationalists are saying. Now they are repeating the same thing. They are saying that we are going to repeat the same thing that our forefathers did. We are going to punish the Oromos, going to make them kneel down, will take their land, we are going to defeat. So all Oromo territories belongs to them. From Walaga to Arsi, from Hararge, all Oromo, for example, if you see the recent map includes almost entirely the Oromia region.
Thank you so much for that, Professor Jalata. Coming to the second part of our discussion, just recently, the Oromo Liberation Front celebrated its 50th anniversary, commemorating its founding in 1973. There's a page from a foreign relations brochure that was published in September 1975 that I personally refer to often, as it articulates the Oromo struggle as being adjacent to other struggles for liberation, including that of the Somali, Afar, Eritrean, and Palestinian struggles. As someone, of this generation who is observing and participating in very much in this struggle, I don't know if I see that the Oromo struggle is as recognized as a global liberation struggle when compared to some of these other struggles. I want to know if you agree, and if you do, why do you think that we don't have this visibility, particularly as a liberation struggle and not just as a community or as a nation facing human rights abuses?
This is another very interesting question. I agree with you that the Oromo struggle is not recognized, not supported globally. There are several reasons for this. I'm going to mention a few of them. First of all, the Oromo people were really hidden from the global society for almost 150 years. Their history were buried, their culture was buried, their language is totally banned, and many people, they were banned from intellectual discourses, historical discourses. So many people around the world didn't know about the Oromo until recently. So the Ethiopian colonial states, its elite and its institutions tried their best to totally erase the Oromo people from history, from the world. So it's very difficult for people around the world to know about the Oromo people until recently, when the Oromo struggle started to intensify, when Oromo elites start to write and describe about the Oromo people. The second thing is, during the 1960s, the CR Barre government wanted to suffocate the Oromo struggle, to channel toward Somalia in order to Somalize the Oromo people, despite the fact that many Oromo revolutionaries went to the Middle East to receive training, to come back in the fight for the Oromo people, where the Somali government captured, imprisoned some of these leaders. The Somali government forced some of these Oromo nationalists to become Somali. In order to do that, he called them Somali Abo. So the Oromo people's struggle was suffocated by the Ethiopian state and the Somali government, and these factors also put limitation on the recognition of the Oromo. Another very dangerous thing that Oromos are facing is the emergence of an Oromo collaborative class. Ethiopianized Oromos who accepted the Ethiopian philosophy, Ethiopianism, or the Ethiopian ideology, who recognize the Ethiopian state as a legitimate state, who works for this government, who claim their Ethiopian identity rather than Oromo identity, who are running away from Oromo identity. These elements have been very dangerous, like the Netanyahu elite. They collaborated with each other and they suffocated the Oromo struggle. Another reason is the West and the East. In the West, the Ethiopian colonial state was created by alliance of Ethiopian colonialism and world imperialism, particularly Great Britain, France, and Italy supported Ethiopian warlords who are calling themselves emperors. And this process, Ethiopia was created. After that, successive hegemonic powers successively supported the Ethiopian state. The West, the United States, and others supported the Haile Selassie government. The Soviet Union supported Mengistu regime. Now, China, Russia, Western countries support the Abiy government. So these forces have been against the Oromo. So the Oromo struggle was facing a very dangerous situation. Finally, the impact of Ethiopian colonialism. The impact of Ethiopian colonialism has taken the Oromo mind, introduced inferiority complex to Oromo elites. And now some Oromos who are not nationalists, either they identify themselves with clan or religion or with Ethiopia rather than their Oromo peoplehood, rather than being Oromo nationalists. So the Oromo struggle has been facing, particularly the old left have been facing these very complex problems. So it took a long time for the Oromo people to come to global scene. Now the Oromos are globally recognized. The Oromo struggle is known. Recently, as you remember, the Ethiopian government is forced to sit down and negotiate with Oromo Liberation Army because the Oromo struggle is gaining international legitimacy, international recognition. So gradually, the Oromo struggle is maturing and achieving international recognition.
Thank you so much for that really comprehensive answer, Professor Jalata. And following up from that, what do you think, or what do you consider to be the most important points of progress in the Oromo struggle since the organizing of our struggle in the formal institution of the OLF? And what is the work, in your opinion, of the current and upcoming generations?
The Oromo Liberation Front rediscovered the Oromo name that the Ethiopian regime, the Ethiopian state want to erase. The Ethiopian state gave the Oromo the name, the derogatory name called Gala, which is really mean like in the United States, nigger, which means people have no history, people have no culture, backward people, primitive, pagan. This name was intended to destroy Oromo peoplehood. So the Oromo people recovered the Oromo people, the name Oromo. Now all Oromo branches are recovering from that damage and reclaiming their Oromo identity. They are calling themselves Oromo. This is a great achievement in the Oromo struggle. In addition to that, many Oromos are proud of their identity, proud of their culture, particularly the Gada system. Start to recognize that the Oromo people had their own country before they were colonized. They had their own government. They had their own institutions. They were colonized by Ethiopia. They have nothing with Ethiopia except the colonial relationship. So this is a great success. Ideologically, this is a great success. Some Oromos are becoming nationalists. Young Oromos are learning about their identity and their culture. An example is you. For example, you are promoting Oromo idea, Oromo identity. So young people are starting to advance the Oromo struggle. So the Oromo struggle had many projects. One of them is to develop Oromo nationalism. So this Oromo nationalism is gradually developing from time to time, particularly as you remember during between 1915 and 2015 and 2018, young Oromos were galvanized all over Oromia. We call them Kero and the Karre. They articulated Oromo nationalism, although they were not successful, although the revolution was hijacked by elements of the Naftanyas. Another project was to develop Oromo cultural history, Oromo identity. This is another important project. One important project was to rebuild Oromo organizational capacity that is going to form the Oromo state, restore the Oromo state that existed before colonialism. So the final things that are not yet accomplished is establishing an Oromo state that is going to be sovereign, that is going to be independent, that is going to restore the Oromo people to their civilizations. So these are the projects that young Oromos are going to carry over and advance. Oromo nationalism, Oromo national identity, Oromo cultural identity, the aspiration of building an Oromo state. The Oromo people deserve sovereignty, deserve democracy, deserve peace to exist as other nations rather than subjugated, destroyed, and become subservient to the Ethiopian state. So young Oromos, like the Wobo Oromo Liberation Army, are young Oromos who were Keros and Karres yesterday, who are fighters and becoming leaders today. So the torch is already passed to young generation. The young generation are going to work on all those projects that I mentioned to make the Oromo struggle.
Thank you so much, Professor Jalata, again for that comprehensive answer. You mentioned there that one of the let me say first, listening to that as one person part of this movement is quite inspiring. And it's, I think, important for us to remember how far we've come as we look at the road that's ahead of us. So in your answer, you were talking about institutions of government, of just modes of social organization that the Oromo have. And you're actually participating at the moment in a project called Harom Sagada, which is a lecture series and wider project looking to revive knowledge about and practice of the Gada system. And Harom Sagada very literally means, for our English viewers, to revive or to make new the Gada. And the Gada is an ancient system of social organization belonging to the Oromo people. In the future scenario where Oromia gets to decide her political future and political infrastructure that accompanies this political future, what role do you think the Gada system and its core value systems can play in building that political future and infrastructure?
Okay, it's another interesting question. So Gada is the totality of Oromo civilization. You cannot imagine Oromo identity, Oromo culture, Oromo language without Gada. Every Oromo, now we think that Gada is ancient, it disappeared. But in reality, if you talk with every Oromo, you will discover that elements of Gada survive in them. Because Oromos practice this civilization for almost 4,000 years. Still, it has been hidden underground. So it is very important. One of the interesting things about Gada is Gada has a lot of roles. It has different roles. It has cultural, religious, political roles. One of the interesting things that Gada revival or Gada renaissance is focusing on is political culture. If you look at the Gada government, Oromos had fashioned an egalitarian democracy, which was formed every 8 years through consensus, through election. So the future Oromo government should aspire to restore this democratic element of the Gada system. Elections every year, every 8 years. It may not be in every 8 years in the future. The recall of corrupt regimes, the principle of maintaining savu or ethical order. Anybody who is against Oromo principles, Oromo democracy, are going to be ostracized. Now, because of lack of this, many the Oromo leaders are corrupt, thieves, total despised element of Oromo society, were brought to leadership by the TPLF, and this group of people are leading the Oromo people. Oromos want to eliminate those kind of people who are subservient, so leaders who are going to be independent thinkers, who are standing for their people, who are promoting social justice and fairness for Oromo society and other people. So the Gada revival is very much interested in rediscovering the best elements of Gada system so that it will be reincorporated in the Oromo struggle. The people who are engaging in Gada Renaissance, they want to make this project the project of the Oromo Liberation Front. The Oromo Liberation Front was to restore Oromo culture, Oromo cultural identity, and everything. This is the project that this group are working as an element of Oromo struggle. So people who are in Gada Renaissance, who are promoting Gada Renaissance, believe that the Oromo can only achieve egalitarian democracy, justice, equality for every sector of Oromo society and other society too, by restoring the best element of Gada. So some of these scholars are well versed with the Western model of civilization, Eastern model of civilization. They believe that this model are not going to be an alternative for the Oromo. Oromos have their own authentic indigenous democracy on which they can build their future.
Thank you for that response, Professor Jalata. There's 2 points within the Gada, one part of the institution and another part of the value system that I'd like you to touch on and say a little bit about if you can. One is the idea of Safu, and the other is the Sikh institution, which is the institution that women organize themselves in within the Gada. Can you talk a little bit about how the value system of Safu could operate in this political system, and then how what exactly how the Sikh system could operate within the Gada system, in this future?
In Oromo society, if you go back to history, there is a balance between nature, society, and God. Which means for example, if you violate the rights of people, even if you violate the right of trees or animals, you are committing sin. It's not acceptable. So Oromos respect not only people, they respect everything, environment, nature, things around them, because the Oromos believe that all these things are created by God. So the breaking of this safu, or moral and ethical order, created this environmental destruction of the land, trees, and everything in the world. And the survival of humanity is very in question now because of environmental degradation. The Oromo people recognized this long time ago. So another thing is about, you mentioned about women, Sikh. The Oromos believe in the balance between gender. In the Gada system, women had Sikh institutions that protected their rights. It was not allowed for any man to violate the rights of women. If any man or a husband or any man violate the right of women, women would call what is known as a Sikh rebellion, in which they traveled from one clan to another clan, and that clan where the clan that they traveled to are going to stand with them and protect that woman and punish anybody who would violate the right of women. So this might not be totally enough in the future Gada system. We believe that many things have been changed. Women can play a very important role. In the future, they can be Had Agada, they can be the leaders, they could be the president, they could be the minister, they could be commander, because they are equally fighting with men now in Oromia. In the future, men and the women should play a very equal role in Oromo society. So the future of Oromo is going to based on equality, justice, and egalitarian democracy. The reason why we say egalitarian democracy is we want to eliminate confusion. Nowadays, every dictator, every criminal claims that they are democratic by forcing people at gunpoint to vote for them. Like Abiy did, for example, Abiy in Oromia imprisoned Oromo political organizations, particularly the Oromo Liberation Front and OFECO, and claimed that election took place in Oromia. There is no such democracy. So Oromos reject those kind of things because they have been cheated by Haile Selassie, who claimed to allow parliamentary election by Mengistu Haile Mariam, who claimed to promote socialist democracy by the TPLF regime that lied about democracy, and the same thing with this regime. So Oromos are tired of these lies. So they want to restore their egalitarian democracy based on their Gada principles.
Thank you so much for your time today, Professor Assafa Jalata. This has been a truly enriching, insightful, and very interesting discussion, and I appreciate you for joining us.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Well, everyone, that's it. I hope you found that as interesting as I did. We were joined by Professor Assafa Jalata, who is a professor of sociology, global studies and African studies at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. I think there is really a lot to say about the role that Indigenous systems of social organization and Indigenous value systems have in helping us understand and solve a lot of the global crises we face, whether that crisis is political, economic, social, or environmental. My name is Soreti Kadir. You're watching OMN Insight, and I look forward to seeing you next week.